Hello again, Angry Welshman back again. Hopefully this will be a little shorter video than it was before, as to be honest with you, I don't think Flat Earthers, especially this video, deserves any much of my time. But the reason why I chose this video, because this video is full of the misconceptions and misunderstandings that really knocks me off about Flat Earth. I mean, what fucking pisses me off, and I'm going to try and swear a little less, I know this is what makes me Angry Welshman, all that kind of thing. But on a serious note, this is what pisses me off, is that it's shit videos like this that people choose to watch to get their facts from, and they call these people truth seekers, when everything in them is just bloody wrong. And yet genuine science gets overlooked as lies because of these paranoid little fuckers. And shit like this needs to stop. Right, so in this one I'm going to gloss over everything that he does. Hopefully this video will be a lot quicker, because I'm off to pick up Red Dead Redemption 2. Yeah, boy. Yeah, shop next to me is having a midnight opening and selling it at midnight, so I'm going to be going ahead, buying it, picking it up, popping it in my PS4, and then going to bed as it installs. I'm not too mad, but you know what I mean. Well, let's get on with this piece of shit video.
Another video from A Plain Truth. Well, just the other day, China announced they're going to be putting up fake moons into the sky with all the fake launchings and everything else. But what they're getting us prepped for is artificial entities in the sky, whatever they want to put up there. They're going to say it's for a purpose to help light up the city streets, and they'll have controversials of whether artificial moon should be there or not, and if it's helping or not. But it's probably all part of this Vision 2020, which is maybe ending the sun as we know it, the moon as we know it, and putting artificial everything in the skies for our daylight, for our moonlights and whatnot. It all becomes fake.
Oh, good grief, what a paranoid little shitbag.
Now, is this possible? Absolutely. Why? Because they're already doing it. We've chronicled many times, many other channels have the sun simulators up there. They've had the technology for decades, yet now we have the proof.
You do realize you're looking at a telescope there, right?
We have pictures, we have first-person evidence reporting, we have all...
Oh, do you now? So why don't you question the legitimacy of these? If any amount of people, millions of people would be able to see this if this was real, and people would lose their minds. There are probably anomalies in the camera, there could be absolutely anything. Reflections of something, anything. But you don't question the legitimacy of these, do you? Oh, no.
All the reporting that they are using sun simulators, and now they're saying they're putting fake moons. All right, switching gears a little bit. Flat Earth versus globe. Well, the problem with trying to talk to people that are heliocentric and been programmed is that they have...
This is rubbish, I'm afraid. I think it's the other way around, as you'll soon see. No, what you're talking about here is just normal people who just going with the flow of reality and flow with life, who are not really interested. They're not astronomers, they're not scientists or physicists. They believe that the Earth is a globe. They put their trust, understanding in people that know better, and there we are.
Have no knowledge, very little knowledge of how things work. Well, about...
Oh yeah, because you're a vast fountain of knowledge, aren't you, Sunshine?
4.6 billion years ago, they said they formed the sun and the moon.
Yes, that's a well-educated guess that's backed up by science. Yes, okay.
And the sun has hydrogen and helium and is 800...
Yes, we know this, okay, thanks to something called astronomical spectroscopy. You can do this, right? You can do this. This kind of sums it all up. I'm not going to explain it to you, but like I said, so basically what they do with the sun, they magnify the sun's light and pass it through a prism, and then, thanks to the light that comes the other end, and they got missing lines, but thanks to all the lines that are in it, and then burning those gases, right, and burning other gases in the lab, they can distinguish what those colours in the spectrum is. So by putting the sunlight through a telescope a spectroscope then into a prism, they can determine what the sun was made of, and it works out pretty accurately as well. And now the it's a little bit more complicated than that. They do it in many different ways also. Just look it up. See, these are the color lines for hydrogen, helium, oxygen, and carbon. There we are. You know, what's this one? Continuum, so that's a continuous spectrum. So, you know, that's hydrogen, helium, argon, nitrogen, neon, mercury, and carbon monoxide. See, that was a quick little Google search right there. Okay, that's that done.
170,000 miles, 150 million miles from Earth, 330,000 times, 333 the size of
fucking Freemasons again.
The Earth. The Moon is a bigger than. But note here the revolution period is 27.3 days of the Moon. The rotation, it rotates at 27.3. And here we see a composite photo, same day over 28 days. Can this happen on a round ball spinning Earth, this type of photography? No. So here.
How? Are you going to actually explain why it's impossible? Or did you pull that little notion right from your ass without anything to back it up? This is the thing. You people have convinced yourself that anything that goes against your little model or your belief is automatically false. That you pretty much convince yourself that you don't need to do the research or the understanding or find out the facts and the actual truth. Is that, no, this seems impossible to me, so therefore it is impossible. You see, it's shit like this that pisses me off. It's such bullshit.
In itself is proof that the Earth is stationary and the stars and the luminaries rotate above us.
Like memes like this. Yes, we know, thanks to, you know, parallax. Remembered it this time. And many other types of measuring and, you know, thing. We know it's this big. You know, how quickly Venus, you know, transit to Venus and everything. We can figure out how far away it is and how big it is. All that kind of thing. Simple as that. So this is just here to confuse flat earthers, basically.
All right, so here's what they say is the scale. 330,000 times bigger than Earth. You can't even see the moon on this thing. But let's take...
Yes, because that's the actual scale. Well done. Think about it. There are probably particles of dust, millions of them, floating past your eyes right now that you can't see.
A picture of what they say the blue marble is to the gray moon. Look at that. They say it's 4 times bigger than the Earth's moon. Well...
Yeah, he was a bit slow there to change the image.
And it has 1/6 the gravity. So if we take a look at this picture, although this doesn't look like the moon is 1/4 the size, it looks like maybe 1/8 the size. Look at...
Should have found a better picture then, dipshit.
The blue marble, the reflection of blue versus gray and dark. What reflects more, folks? The blue or the gray? Now, they're said to be 238,000 miles apart from each other. But if they're 238,000 apart, yet they're 93 million miles pretty much equidistant from the sun, relatively, why would not the blue marble blue overshadow the lighter, less reflective gray of the moon? Why isn't the moon blue? Why doesn't the blue light up the moon during the full moon? Because the blue is much more reflective, much bigger, much brighter. I don't see any really flat earthers bringing up this conversation. I think
because it's bullshit and you're not thinking through properly. Remember, Earth's color sometimes does translate onto the Earth, onto the moon. The Earth's color does translate onto the moon, i.e., blood moon. So when the sun rays pass our atmosphere, the red light then passes onto the moon. Right? However, he says, why is the moon not blue? Well, look at this picture of a waxing gibbous. Look, the dark part of the moon, so i.e. the part that's not lit up by the sun, is blue because it's being overpowered by Earth's atmosphere. The blue of our atmosphere. Hell, even the white bit of the moon is also a shade of blue because it's being overpowered by Earth's atmosphere. So that answers your question right there. Hell, and before you even go there, right, okay, look, it's only bright white at night. Pretty much obvious fact there, okay? Now, I would like to point out, before you even say anything about the moon being flat, or whatever have you, well, actually, I think he gets to that point in a second, but so I'll leave him talk.
I'm the only one doing it. But nevertheless, it's a huge question to dispel the heliocentric myth of this blue marble of the moon shining its light onto the.
Stop calling it a myth, dude. Just because you're unwilling and to understand it. This is my other knock with flat earthers. It's just that it's not that they don't understand, right? It's the fact that they don't want to understand is what really knocks me off, because everything's fake, all science is fake, blah blah. That just basically gives them a free pass into basically saying, well, we don't need to because everything's light. We don't need to learn, you know?
The Earth that we can hike at night and see pretty well on the golden light from the moon, from the sun, allegedly. Yet nobody talks about why blue wouldn't be reflecting onto the moon, and it's much bigger size and much more reflective.
Learn the positions of the moon and everything first. I mean, for goodness sake, learn angles, trajectories, you know, perspective, where it is. Learn how reflections work. Reality doesn't have to basically form itself to your fucking warped sense of thinking.
All right, so let's take a look about the sun, 93 million miles away. What kind of light, when a flashlight is from a distance, what kind of light? Well, first they tell you that it's just because they see a disk, they say it has to be a sphere.
Rubbish. The heliocentric model or the globe has never said that a globe around, like, let's say something that isn't a globe can't give off a round shadow. That's bollocks. No. This right here, this has never been said by anyone in science. Nada. The only reason why I bring this up, right, I'm going to go back to this image. Look, the moon is obviously a sphere. Part of which you can tell the craters, and I've gone through this millions of times, it's rather tiring, right? They have shadows in them, which basically shows that light has a direction, right? And there's even light parts on craters that are coming past the terminator. So then again, this also disproves that the moon is its own light source.
False. But what kind of light shines from a distance and can make a crepuscular, I have trouble saying that,
crepuscular ray.
Crepuscular rays and seem like it's just so close, like it's so very close, when in fact from 93 million miles away the white light should be extremely, extremely diffused, yet it's not.
Oh really? By whose understanding here?
It has a focus-like power, like it's much closer.
Right. Stop with this bullshit. This was debunked fucking before it even started, to be quite honest with you. It's based on perspective. It amuses me many, many times how flat earthers love to use perspective to prove their point, but when it goes against them, they ignore it. Completely ignore it. Like it doesn't exist. Like it's not a thing. Right? Much like this, right? This is what we're seeing here. Right? Look at that. Looks like diverging light, but when you actually look at it, it's just that. It's from our point of view, our size, our scale. Then the other thing they always say, like, oh look, you know, follow the lines up and the sun is just above the clouds. Okay. However, by that logic, by using these sunlights, the sun would be just above the trees. I love using that notion because it's what it is. It's our perspective that makes light rays look like they diverge, whilst in fact they are completely, almost parallel. Almost perfectly parallel, essentially. Okay?
But like it's much more nearby. All right, so let's get into size. Are the moon and the sun the same size? Yes.
No, they only look the same size. Things can appear the same size, but not actually. You see this in reality like all the time, you know, like people standing up against the Leaning Tower of Pisa, you know what I mean, and pretending to push it up. Or let's say this image, which a friend of mine took. Oh, this dandelion is the same size as the sun. It's a pretty bloody big dandelion. Ugh, good, like just think. It's because things look like they're the same size. They aren't. If you just followed the paths as well, how quickly things moved. Used a bit of parallax, did a bit of measuring throughout the year, throughout the night, throughout the day, throughout the weeks, throughout the months, throughout the years, throughout the decades, throughout the centuries, like people have, right? Like, astronomers, for example. It's not like they've done that for thousands of years. They actually understood this. Not paranoid little shitbags like you.
They just told you a massive lie, perspective, distance, and all that. All right.
You see? He ignores perspective.
So we have pictures of Earthrise that was allegedly taken from the moon, official photos, but we don't know which one to believe because they're all said to be official. This is supposed to be an official photograph of the Earthrise. Now remember, Earth is 4 times larger than the moon.
I know where he's going with this.
So here we see again, this is another picture from like 3 years ago, allegedly a million miles away, a photograph.
I love the way they always say allegedly.
From a satellite taken of the moon. Notice there's no details on the moon at all. Notice
that. What the fuck do you mean? Obviously, it's focusing on the Earth. The moon just happened to pass by, so the moon's not going to be in focus, is it?
It's spinning exactly with the same rotation as.
No, it's not. That's just an illusion. That's an illusion of speed. Trust me, you can do that experiment yourself with probably, with certain things at home and spin things certain faster than others. It's the distance of the camera. You literally take things on face value all the time and don't look into it any further.
The Earth
you experiment only what you want to experiment to get the results that you want.
Except it doesn't rotate as the same. The Earth rotates at 1,000 miles an hour. Well,
and at about 0.009 repetitions per minute. Takes 24 hours to rotate once. Loads of flat earthers, again, always love to use that 1,000 miles an hour. They envisage this ball, like spinning so fucking fast, like a saw blade and spinning all the water off. Which, of course, it's not.
The moon operates at is faster than that because it has to catch up with.
And this image I'm going to go into when he brings it up again.
Rotating around the Earth, allegedly, traveling at over 20,000 miles an hour, so it would not go in parallel. Now remember about the gravity of Earth too. It's 1/6 the gravity, which we'll get into in a minute. But the moon is also spinning, a sidereal spin, they say, going counterclockwise and then clockwise of 10 miles per hour. Well, where's that rotation?
At 10 miles an hour at something that's this big, right, and traveling in that short space of frame, you're not going to notice anything.
On the moon. You're not seeing the moon rotate at all, but you're seeing the Earth rotate, yet it had to be Earth. But down at the center core of the Earth, they say, is another sun with magnets that holds the water in, but size matters because it only
hang on,
affects that rotate, yet it had to be. All right, let's get into this chart. So we are sold that the Earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, yet this unseen, unproven, and we've only drilled down 8-9 miles into Earth. But
we've only drilled down 8-9 miles, right? There's more than one way to figure shit out. Look at P waves and S waves. Let me just read off this pretty quick. The first kind of body wave is a P wave or primary wave. This is the fastest kind of seismic wave, and consequently the first to arrive at a seismic station. The P wave can move through a solid, rock, and fluids, like water and the liquid layers of Earth. Sometimes animals can hear P waves of an earthquake. Now, S waves, it says it, although both pass through solid rock, only P waves can travel through gases and liquids. S waves can't. So, thanks to that, they can determine what the core of the Earth and what most of the Earth is made of. And they can figure out its viscosity and what material it's made of. It's a little bit more complicated than just drilling down.
Down at the center core of the Earth, they say, is another sun with magnets that holds the water in, but size matters because it only affects the oceans, doesn't affect the massive lakes, doesn't affect the ponds or the puddles.
God, is he expecting puddles to float? Jesus. Now, that saying that it doesn't affect massive tides, massive lakes, here we go. True tides change their water levels caused by the gravitational force of the sun and moon. They do occur in massive lakes, and they say that lakes could be affected by several centimeters. Because lakes don't have the huge body of water and tidal sort of things that oceans have. You know, as simple as. Look this up. This was just really. Let's have a look at this picture. Why do lakes have no tides? Gravitational pull of the moon and the sun. The tide itself is actually a huge wave with an extremely long wavelength. So lakes just aren't big enough for this. The wavelength is so long that it's only easily observed in an ocean because of its size. Tides do occur in lakes and ponds, they just aren't that noticeable. Alright, there we are. That's your other question answered for you. Moving on.
I think it was last year with the Japanese space agency.
Talking about the moon here.
Space between your ears. The only thing they've sent up into space is your imagination.
Oh, shut up.
And this is supposedly the 4 times bigger Earthrise being officially.
I'll get into that in a minute.
Photographed. There's the blue marble. But look at the moon, folks. You don't think they have any resolution? Look at the resolution they're using for the fake Earth, the CGI. But
well, this probably doesn't have that much detail on it because it's been overpowered by the sun. It's quite bright, this image. They probably tried to up the sort of exposure here to pick up the Earth.
On the moon, there's no details.
There's plenty of details. I can see them. I can see all the craters.
And what's missing from this high-resolution picture? How about the craters on the moon? Now, it looks like the moon is rotating actually towards the Earth. You see how it's rotating underneath?
Well, did you actually bother to actually look at the orientation of this image? You're not thinking three-dimensionally at all, or sort of perspective of where this is. And also, this has probably been taken by the lunar orbiter, perhaps. But you haven't looked at where this lunar orbit, unless you say it was attached to the moon, you probably haven't figured out, or don't even care, to point out where it was. So its angle, it might be sort of, you're just assuming it's at the top of the moon, don't you? Like, you know, like here on the moon, which in fact it could be down here on the side. So it gets a different whole perspective and view and angle on things. See, this is, you're making up your own shit. You're purposely ignoring certain aspects or not even bothering to figure it out to sort of improve your argument. But it's not going past me, Sunshine.
That's moving. It says it's moving towards the Earth. It's bigger than a moonrise. Do we see a problem here at all?
All right, let's go back here.
Real that we'll get into here in a little bit, rotating like a clock face instead. Again, you have to take a look at the size. Is that the same size as this? Does that look like it's 4 times bigger than a moonrise? Do we see a problem here at all about how they're telling us the moon is rising? Look at that size, folks. Which is it? Which size matters? Are you going to go by the size they tell us and show us on the TV screen this time, or the one they're showing you on the TV screen next time? The problem is people don't know how to critically think. They don't know.
No, you're not critically thinking, Sunshine, because this little nugget was actually debunked by Rob Skiba himself, who's a, let's say, so-called legend and of flat Earth. This is on here, okay? Pretty sure it was Rob Skiba. So fake. Since when is epic mean Photoshop? Blah 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 blah. Why wasn't there a solar eclipse? Look at the angle, for fuck's sake. Totally looks like a simulation. Why doesn't the moon spin like the Earth? Right. In terms of the spin, right, and he's probably going to get that into that. Actually, I'll come back to that later. Right. This little nugget was done by somebody else. So this isn't Rob Skiba's video. Right. But look, it's all about position and then zoom and field of view. Look, this is the actual size of the huge ball. There's the basketball. Look, that basketball now looks bigger than that. Move it far away, zoom in. Now that basketball looks tiny. So the basketball's now the moon. Then the big one's the Earth. You know, it's all about simple photography. Bother to look up this shit. The things that you think are problems aren't actually problems at all. This is simple stuff to look up.
Know how to look at evidence from different points of view.
Flat earthers are the worst at that, so shut up.
All right, so let's go to, if the moon is rotating on its axis, we would be able to see the backside of the moon. It rotates at 10 miles an hour.
No, we won't, because it's tidally locked. Do you not understand that that it's actually the other way around. If it didn't rotate, other people would then be able to see the dark side of the moon, and people would be getting different angles of the moon around the Earth. Think about it, right?
An hour. Asia should be able to see the dark side of the moon if that was true. However, we don't see that at all. We see the seasons going around, but look at this chart. It doesn't show the moon rotating whatsoever in order to prove the phases work.
The moon would actually not need to rotate it by itself for actually the phases to work. The phases are, it doesn't matter if the moon is spinning or not. The phases will actually remain exactly the same. It's just that it'll be on different parts of the moon.
All right.
Right. Here's the little thing I wanted to show you earlier, right? This shows what I'm talking about. This one, to the right, has the moon not spinning at all. Right? This one has the moon tidally locked and spinning once every rotation around the Earth. So the moon is spinning one rotation every time it goes around. You see? So it's turning, so the same face is able to stay there. But look at the other one. So basically, this part of the world, the right to there, would only see where my mouse is. I'm not sure if any of you can see it. They would see the normal face. They would see the underside. People over here would only see the dark side of the moon, so on and so forth. It's simple, it's simple. You should be able to figure this out as a grown adult. Good. This is the shit, see. This is the things that they pass on to people that want to learn about this, right? And it's people like this that are seen as truth seekers, and they know the facts, and they know the conspiracy. And this is what really winds me up. It's that it's videos like this shitty ass video that get seen, and then real legitimate videos that show actual science and actual knowledge get ignored because they're obviously lying.
And the heat temperature. It's cold plasma, folks. Go to Home Depot or wherever and get a little laser temperature gauge, $20, and measure the temperature of the moon in a full moonlight in the shadow and in direct moonlight. And you'll find the moonlight is 4 to 6 degrees warmer in the shade than it is in direct moonlight because it's putrid, it's cold plasma. All right, it's a different principle. It's another luminary in the sky. It is its own light source.
No, like I've explained before, it is not its own light source. If it was, it wouldn't have shadows on the craters that indicate a light direction. Now, going on the cold thing, right, moon period, even Jeranism doesn't believe this. And that's saying something. Jeranism did this experiment himself, and he says there is no correlation between moon being cold or whatever. It's just the fact that shade traps heat, especially at night. During the day, I think it's a little opposite, because in the shade, then you're not in the direct heat of the moon. There's a reason, of the sun, I mean. There's a reason why at night, when it's a full cast cloudy night, it's a fair bit warmer than it is if it was a starry night with no clouds at all. Same principle here. It's just shade, no matter how small, sometimes does trap a little bit of heat in some way. Physics and science. Learn this shit.
You can't land on it. It's a luminary, folks.
Can't land on it. It's a luminary, even though it's quite obviously a solid object.
Right? They've never been to the moon.
Yes, they have. I can point you to another video that actually shows all the stuff that proves that they have, and that every conspiracy is full of shit.
And then they start taking photographs like, I think it was 3 years ago when they said, they downgraded Pluto to not a planet. And then they said, we got a picture of Pluto. Went all the way out to Pluto, some hundreds of millions of miles with our incredible cameras. Even though we don't have a camera, we shoot back on Earth from the moon. Even though it's 230,000 miles away, we should have a camera just constantly showing the Earth rotating. But they never do. Instead,
yes, we do. It's called the Himawari satellite. That's, in a geosynchronous orbit. God, I'm on form today. I'm not forgetting anything. And that shows the Earth spinning. And you just said you wanted a camera on the moon. You just went through loads of footage yourself just now that shows there are. This is the point. This is my other narc with flat earthers. You always ask for shit that you're not going to believe anyway. You always ask for videos from the ISS. Oh, they're going to be fake. We want real photos of planets. Oh, they're fake anyway. Stop asking for shit that you're going to think is fake anyway. Stop it.
They show us these idiot pictures like Pluto and the moon.
Idiot pictures. How?
Where we have to use our little imagination, and with little drawing skills we can find, hey, Disney. They're characters. All of us are characters.
Yeah, to me that looks more like a heart on Pluto, maybe. It's you that see it. You're the ones that see it. When you look for something, you'll see it. You could have put any dog or animal in there, it probably would have fit. There's probably a couple of Pokemon in there that might even fit in there. It means fucking nothing. And then the rest of the video, he talks about fucking Jesuits and all that kind of crap. Okay. So yeah, this is the video. I got about half an hour, so it's good. 30 minutes less than the other one. I think that'll probably stop other people from shooting themselves and gouging out their eyeballs next time. But hey, well, I hope you all liked this video. I'm also going to give a shout out to Young Blue Skeptic as well, because he's an awesome little dude who's putting out some fantastic videos as well. The kid's an inspired, well, hoping to be an inspiring sort of scientist and physicist himself. So all here's to his future, and hope everything goes good. Right, I will see you guys again. I'm off to pick up my copy of Red Dead Redemption 2 and probably not sleep for a month. Because I'm a sad bastard. Right, hope to see you again, and have a nice evening. Good night.